Welcome back to another episode of the Art Inside the Craft podcast. I'm your host, Jeremy Glazier, and this is episode number 22. Today's episode is with singer-songwriter Andrew Combs, who surprises me with the creativity of his lyrics and song composition every time he puts out a new album. His latest album, titled Sundays, is no exception and was created on the heels of Andrew coming through some mental health issues, and at the behest of musician, producer, and good friend Jordan Lehning, Andrew got back into the studios on Sundays to record a new batch of songs. I spoke to Andrew shortly after the album was released and just before he left for a quick overseas tour. He graciously opens up about his mental health during COVID and how that led to the beautifully crafted album Sundays. Listen in on that interview now with Andrew Combs. Yeah, so I always like to start just with like a little introduction. I just think it's interesting for the listeners, kind of how I found your music. And the first time that I actually saw you or got a chance to hear you was when you were here in Cedar Rapids and you came with Larry and Teresa during your Dreams album tour. I don't know if you remember that.
Yeah.
And I think you may have possibly got on that tour that day and drove all the way from, I think, Nashville to Cedar Rapids. Or I'm not sure where you were, but I just remember you were really beat, but put on one hell of a show. So.
Oh, good. I'm glad.
Yeah. So that's kind of that was my introduction to you and your music, and it was just fantastic. So I like telling that story.
Yeah, that was a fun. I only did a handful of dates with them, but they were good people and nice to pal around with for a few days.
Yeah, they're so great. So I guess on to the new album. It's really fantastic. I love everything about it. I've kind of been reading through how it came about, and it seemed like you kind of had maybe a little tough time going into it. I don't want to misrepresent anything, so I didn't know if you would mind kind of talking a little bit about how the album kind of started, what was kind of the starting point for it, and how you got into the studio.
Yeah. Well, it was sort of, the whole record came about pretty organically, which is nice. I had some mental problems, kind of the end of 2020 into the beginning of 2021. And, basically, for lack of better words, I had a breakdown, and which I know a lot of people probably did during pandemic times.
It was tough.
So I don't want to play that down. It wasn't just because of that. It was something that had been boiling up for a long time, and I was kind of in a weird spot, and sought some medical attention, and then started my meditation practice, which has all been great. And but anyways, on the heels of that whole experience, my good friend, the guy I produced the record with, his name is Jordan Lehning, called me and said, "Hey, I have this idea. I've been watching, beginning of 2020, I was doing those live stream things, where you just play in front of your phone or whatever. And I was in my shed where I do a lot of painting and just writing and hanging out. It's nothing glamorous, just literally a shed. And so everything, all the audio was bare bones. It was very raw. It was no reverb or anything like that, So Jordan was like, I loved those, and I have this idea of just getting you in the studio. Maybe we get our friend Dom in there who plays drums, and we could just hang out on a Sunday and see what happens. I have this idea of putting everything dry, thinking about maybe recording it in mono, and it's no pressure. We're just gonna have fun, drink coffee, and catch up. I hadn't seen properly seen them, besides the FaceTime, in 6 to 12 months. So
Yeah.
I told Jordan, I would love to do that, but I'm coming off of this mental breakdown, and I just letting you know that I don't really have. I have 2 songs that I've written, and I don't know what it's going to be like. I haven't sang or played the guitar in months, but yes, I'd love to try it out. And so went in just with the expectation of just seeing a couple of buddies and hanging out, and we recorded those 2 songs that I had. And yeah, I mean, I think the next week he sent me, a rough mix, and he had added some woodwinds on it. And it really felt, I always say this, but it really did. It felt important. It felt fresh and new, and like something I wanted to explore further. And he and Dom felt the same. And so we decided to, for the next month or two, just get together on Sundays, whenever that was possible. There were a few Sundays that we missed just because of other obligations, but
Sure.
yeah, we ended up, I don't know, there were probably like 7 or 8 Sundays where I would just write during the week, and I would bring in the songs and we would record them, and if they sucked, they sucked, and if they didn't, we would plow forward. And that's how it came about. And that's why I was pretty hesitant to even include the whole mental breakdown thing in like a press release and stuff, but it was just so much a part of where this record came from. Besides 2 or 3 songs, I mean, everything is pretty much about trying to find stillness and trying to be mindful, and meditation, and all that rolled into one. So yeah, I mean, that's how it came about and how it ended as well.
Yeah, it's definitely got that Sunday vibe. When you listen to the whole thing, it's just a beautiful collection of songs. So I really did
Thank you.
enjoy it.
Thanks.
When you were writing, did you have then any kind of preconceived ideas of what you would be writing, or did you just kind of, organically start coming up with songs, like no direction or no path really to what you wanted to get to? You just wrote what came?
I mean, in one sense, I wrote what came, but I mean, all that stuff was happening, and it was all fresh. I don't think I could have written about it while I was going through it, but to take a step back and look at it was easy, and to sort of be grateful that I got through it. And there were a couple of songs I was really into. Samuel Beckett, I mean, I still am, and his sort of absurdist plays. And there were a couple of songs where like I would just have those running in the background while I wrote. And so they are, especially the very last song, "Shall We Go," is definitely about a play that he wrote called "Waiting for Godot." And there's some really cool. There was a series that's pretty much all available on YouTube now. It's just called Beckett on Film, where they did these plays and taped it. So I watched that and wrote that song about that. But for the most part, it's just self-reflective stuff, I guess.
And then Jordan, I've spoke with him and interviewed him before. He does some incredible stuff with, his own music, and obviously whenever he gets together with you, it's just comes out magical. And that's one of the things I really enjoy about your music is the subtle instrumentation. Did you kind of have any of that stuff in mind when you were writing, or did once you and Jordan kind of got together, just kind of came out that way?
Well, the first two songs, since we were approaching it as like everything was going to be dry and we were recording in mono, so it the recording in mono was sort of a exercise in limiting yourself to arrangements, and really making sure the song and the arrangement of the song was honed in enough that you didn't need to add lots of overdubs and you didn't need to pan things to the left or the right so you could add other things to the other side, kind of stuff.
Sure.
So those first two songs, that was in place. And once I heard those two songs and it felt important to me, yeah, I mean, I'd have to say it was in the back of my mind when I was writing for the rest of the record, because I just knew that it needed to be spot on before we recorded it. And from recording it on, like, any sort of overdub we did needed to fit that mold too. So yeah, I mean, I was writing with that in mind, with the sound in mind for sure, but it also, I was lucky enough that, the subject matter of the songs and the overall, for lack of a better word, vibe of the song, fit, the subject matter of meditation and simplifying the mind, it just lent itself to that production anyway. So it kind of just all fit. The puzzle pieces fit correctly at the right place in the right time.
Yeah, it's beautiful. And I don't know that I've ever heard anything that he's done before, but Juan Solorzano, is that right?
Yep.
Solorzano
Yep.
on lead. Man, on that, he really piqued my ears up with some of that slide work on that first track.
Yeah, Godless.
Yeah, on Godless. Oh man, that was really interesting.
Yeah, he's a phenomenal player. One of my favorites in town in Nashville. Young guy, and yeah, he's great. I love his playing. He played on, I think, 4 songs. We ended up getting him in there.
Mm-hmm.
And besides him, obviously the woodwinds, and then there's one track with pedal steel, but the rest of it is just Dom, Jordan, and I.
Wow. Yeah, it's really and again, I mean, I say this a lot with your music in particular, but it's so interesting because it seems like there's so many subtle things going on, but in the end, it's really, I mean, I know it was kind of, like you're saying, dry, and there's not a lot of reverb and a lot of that stuff, but it just sounds huge. I don't know why, but it sounds huge, even though I know it's very simple and sparse, but man, it's just incredible.
Thanks. Yeah, I mean, that's it. It was interesting recording in mono because, that's how records were made a long time ago, and
definitely
how strange it felt listening back to something in mono and how fresh it felt, even though it's just not what you hear nowadays. Everything is just big and huge, and yeah, that was one of the main reasons why it felt so important. It was like, this, I know this has been done before, but it feels fresh and new.
Yeah, I really enjoyed that aspect of it as well. And so, like, I don't obviously want to beat it to death going over each song and every single thing, because I think it's as a whole, it's fantastic. Everybody should just listen to it, kind of absorb it in, and just enjoy everything that's in there. So you were saying before, you're preparing now for the tour. So what's coming up for you, like in the next, I guess, 6 months or so, or how long is this tour going to go?
This tour is a month and it's overseas. I'm playing a release show in Nashville, and I don't have any U.S. touring on the books for this year.
Okay.
When COVID hit, things got weird. I lost my booking agent. She left the business in the U.S., and I left my label, parted ways with my managers. Nothing bad with them. I just, during COVID, it was like, I'm not doing anything. What little money is coming in, I need it. I can't be paying you guys. And they were cool with that. Now they kind of work on a, when they work, like if something comes up where I need their help, they'll help me out. But I have 2 kids. I have a newborn and then a 5-year-old. I work a day job 2 days a week. I paint at nights. And so I just really like being home.
Yeah.
And, not to say that if the right opportunity comes up, I won't take it. I will. But having structure in my life, after having a hard time mentally, has been really good for me. And I just feel like I need to embrace that. And I don't know. Performing has always been an anxiety-inducing situation. I love it sometimes, but the idea of like going on tour, and it's just at my stage, it's normally not profitable, especially in the U.S. So it's really hard for me to justify being gone and lose money. So I don't know. Next year, the other thing is with booking agents in the past in the States, I've never really felt like they've taken me to the next level. The gigs that I've, opening slots I've gotten that were really good for me, I've always just gotten because I know the artist and I'm friends with them. So, I guess I'm kind of hoping that might happen again end of this year, maybe next year. I don't know. We'll see what happens with this record, and if it turns a few years in that realm, that'd be great. But if not, I don't know. I'm happy with the way things are going right now. So
yeah, it's really we have 4 kids, so once you start having kids, it's a lot harder to get further away from home, and it's got to really be worth it to be able to spend that much time away home, because you just don't get it back. So I completely understand.
That's right.
I'm very grateful that Andrew took the time to discuss the album as well as his mental health struggles. As a fan and supporter of the music he creates, I can only hope that Andrew continues to make music that he loves in the way it makes him most comfortable. Visit his website, andrewcombsmusic.com, where you can pick up any of his music, purchase some of his paintings and drawings, and stay up to date with any new announcements for what he may be up to next. Thank you to my sponsor, Black Cat Bone Productions, and feel free to visit both my website and Instagram to stay up to date with my most recent projects, and please subscribe to the podcast on whatever platform you may listen. A link to both my website and Instagram will be provided in the episode description. Thank you all for listening, and I will catch you all down the road.